What's going on, everybody? This is Danny from Slow Restoration, and today we're installing an alternator on a 2004-2005 Ford Focus. So step one, disconnect the battery. Step two, you cannot see the alternator up here because it's underneath. So raise it up if you have a lift, and if not, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to climb under the car. And step three is once you have it either jacked up and you're laying under it or up on the lift, you need to remove this splash shield here. It's held on by two. There's one right there and one up there where you can't see, but it's two 10 millimeter bolts. So once you have them removed, this just pulls down out of the way. Step four is grab the belt tensioner, which is actually right back here underneath that axle. Release the tension and pull the belt off. Well, you don't have to pull it all the way off, just at least remove it enough to get it off the alternator. It's good enough. All right, I think we're up to step 5 by now. So step 5 is actually working on the alternator and disconnecting things. You pull this boot back. There's a 10 millimeter nut right there. Remove that. I already have it loose. We'll pull this connection off, and there's a plug right above that needs to come off too, and then we'll go on to step number 6. All right, step number 6 is actually unbolt the alternator. There's actually two nuts, one down below, you can see that stud sticking out, and there's one up top, and there's one bolt, and it's there. I already have it removed. Once you get the 15 millimeter nut off the top and the bottom and the 13 millimeter bolt out, then you take an inverted Torx bit and remove the upper and lower stud, which lets the alternator pull kind of right off the motor at that point. You could probably do it without removing those studs if you didn't have the Torx bit, but it's definitely much easier to do with removing them. And the inverted Torx is a E8 bit. I don't know if you can see that or not. E8 bit, and here's what the stud looks like when it comes out. And we got the second one out. On that top one, there is a wire loom bracket that goes through there, so make sure you get that back in there when you're putting it back together. Makes it, you can't really see it from down here, you're just kind of feeling your way through it, but makes it a little bit more difficult to get that out, but it's really not that bad. All right, some of this is just hard to film and do at the same time. So once you have the alternator unbolted, you can actually spin it around. This shield, cooling shield I guess it is on there. It just makes it a little bit more bulky. It's got one 13 millimeter bolt in it. You take that off, this pulls right off, you can get that out of your way, and then you can actually take and wiggle the alternator, turn it around, and this is so far the best way to get it out. The two mounting tabs sticking down through. It will not come out here so far, so what we're going to do is remove the bolt from the, probably remove that one, remove the bolt from the lower motor mount and rock the engine forward and gain access to remove that alternator. That's also a 13 millimeter. We got that removed. Now we're going to get a pry bar and just gently pry forward, like I said, on the motor. Now keep a hand on this alternator because it's going to want to come falling out so there's enough room. So let's give that a shot. And that worked nice and easy. So you just put your pry bar in there, gently roll that motor forward. Doesn't take a lot of force, and that alternator will come right down out through there. Now we're going to get it, the new one prepped. Actually, we should be able to just put it back up in there. We're going to put it back in the same way it came out. And again, we're going to have to slightly pry that just until we get the alternator up past the steering rack and the axle. And once we get it up in there, we'll reinstall that shield and start putting it back together. By the way, while you have it out, the old one, set it right beside the new one and compare them. Make sure that it's the same number of ribs in the pulley. Make sure the clocking is correct. the mounting brackets and the electrical connections. Make sure the electrical connections themselves are the same. So last thing you want to do is get that back up in there and not be able to plug it in, or a bracket to be in the wrong spot. And that went back up in just as easy as it came out. Just roll that motor forward just until you have enough. You can actually slide it over and set it on that kind of shelf right there. We'll reinstall that bolt and just start reinstalling the alternator, the exact reverse steps as we took it off. So we'll put that heat shield, whatever that cooling shield, the plastic piece, we'll put that back on and put it back up in place, get our studs started, tighten them up, get the 2 nuts and the bolt tightened up. We'll put our electrical back on and put our belt back on and put that shield back on. We did get the plastic shield back on there. We're going to reinstall the bolt for the motor mount. It did appear to have some Loctite on there, so we're going to reapply some Loctite as we put it back together, get that tightened up, and we'll get the alternator in place with these studs, get them tightened up, and we'll go from there. There you have it. Alternator install in the 2005, I think this is. Let's see here, yeah, 2005, and it has a 2.3 liter motor in it. I would definitely say it's not for the normal person to do. It does take some effort. It is a bit of a pain, but having a lift definitely helps. So, but it's doable. It's not too bad. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I can help somebody do this job. See you next time. There you have it, alternator install in the 2005 Ford Focus 2.3 liter. It's definitely not for the normal everyday guy just does the oil changes, but it's definitely doable. It's a little bit of a pain, but having a lift definitely helps for sure. Even if you had to do it on the ground on your back, it's definitely doable. It's just going to be a little bit of a pain. Hopefully this helps somebody to install their own alternator, maybe save a little bit of money. So thanks for tuning in. Have a nice day, and please subscribe.